Welcome to Immigration Law for Tech Startups. Sophie Alcorn's mission is to overcome borders, expand opportunity, and connect the world by practicing compassionate, visionary, and rigorous immigration law in service of the betterment of humanity. Immigration Law for Tech Startups features immigration law strategies to empower global leaders to influence change regardless of their geographic location, place of birth, or citizenship. Now, here's your host, Sophie Alcorn.
Hi, everyone. This is Sophie, and welcome back to another episode of Immigration Law for Tech Startups. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Guanhao Wu, a leader in the future of human mobility. In immigration, we talk about visa mobility. In startups, there's self-driving cars that you might hear of for mobility. But Hao has something very special in the future of human mobility. He is the founder and CEO of Exovolar Industries, an aerospace engineering company that aims to take humanity to the skies.
Hi.
Hi. It's so great to have you here.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to chat with you today all about, okay, let me get this right. Hands-free wearable air mobility systems that allow humans to effortlessly navigate the sky. So let's just get into it. Hi and welcome. It's so great to have you here. I'm so excited for you to explain to us what you do.
Hi. Yeah. Nice to be here. And thank you, Sophie, for having me here. And yes, we make people fly. That's what we do.
Amazing.
Yeah.
When I have a flying dream, or like I have a lucid dream and I try to fly, like that's the experience that I'm going to be able to have one day.
Isn't it funny that we are not born with the ability to fly, but every single one of us has had a dream where we fly.
Yeah.
So I see that as a sign, it's destined that we will be flying through this planet in the future. Right. Well,
when I was a kid and I had to choose, what animal would you be if you could be an animal? I would always say like a hawk so that I could soar through the skies and or eagle and have eagle eye vision. Yeah, it sounds so fun. Okay, so I also just saw Iron Man 1 for the very first time. I was telling you this before we hit record. I'm new to this universe, but I really liked the movie. I had no idea this had been part of our culture for decades at this point. Is what you're building anything like that? Is that already almost here? Like, can we buy one? We're going to cover all of this in the podcast.
Yes,
and of course, your founder journey and anything about immigration. But I want to know all about the product.
Wearable human flight system, yes, it's similar to what Iron Man is. And I want to go back on what you said about when you were a kid, having the idea of an animal, what you want to be, and Iron Man. A lot of that has to do with how I came up with the company, ended up in this company as well. So my first experience, like knowing crazy people being flying things, was we learned about this man named Guanhao Wu in our elementary school textbook. I think I was born and raised in China. When we learned about Guanhao Wu in our textbooks, everybody laughed at him because he strapped 47 firework rockets in his chair. This was back in the 16th century, I think. And then he aimed for space. He wanted to go into space. But he blew himself up, obviously, and didn't make it. And he didn't really plan how to re-enter as well. So we all laughed on the table and thought he was crazy. Yeah. But knowing what we know now, like the Industrial Revolution, the invention of cars and automobiles and cars and airplanes, was it crazy to build a powered carriages when horses were sufficient? Or was it crazy to build a flying machine when you could quite possibly die upon landing?
Right.
Both automobiles and airplanes changed the world. So I guess that was the seed that was planted in me to, going for this kind of stuff. But also I read, So
even as a child, maybe the lesson in school was don't blow yourself up on a chair with rockets. But what you got was there's founder energy in the world. There's people trying to disrupt things. They might not have the best laid plans, but maybe
I think that was their purpose as well, is he was introduced as an innovator,
Oh, wow.
But no, the kids, we don't know better. We make fun of things. Yeah. So now fast forward to university. Funny you mentioned Iron Man.
Is that where you came up with Project Obsidian, or had you been thinking about it for a long time?
Actually, no. So Iron Man movie came out in 2008, I believe. Okay. It was a long time ago, but I was around 2010. I rewatched the movie. That was around the time when I decided what to do for college, right? Okay. So I rewatched that movie, and immediately in that scene where I'm sure you remember from last week, he stood up for the first time in his lab and he flew out the tunnel flew for the first time. Yeah. That was a scene that made me choose mechanical engineering. Wow. So I didn't really know at the time I would be doing this. There's so much so closely related to what that system is. But I guess it set me on the path. Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So are we going to get to wear it, and what does it look like? And I'm sure we'll have lots of links in the show notes. So if you want to look at Exovolar's website or sign up, you have like a club. What's your club is a movie reference too, right?
We just built this. Actually, it's basically a sign up form for people to, if you want to fly, let us know. Like put our interest and go into register your interest in that link, and then we'll email you. I'll call you personally to talk about it.
And you called it the Flight Suit Club.
Yeah.
So it's not a fight club, but it's
club.
Flight Club. So that's great.
That's a great movie as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So people can look at, and you have your images on the website, and we'll link to that too, so people can find it. But essentially, this is like a mechanical body suit.
Yeah. I can get into that, what it is. So
does it have fire?
Yes, for now.
Okay.
There, I want to establish a baseline for what's out there. So there are people who's building jetpacks and powered wings and jet suits and flying drone boards that can lift a person. When I saw people flying jetpacks in 2019, I was extremely motivated and inspired by how cool it is, just for the fact that a person is flying. Right. But at the same time, I was thinking to myself, we could do better. What I mean by that is right now people fly with systems in the upper body and you control it with your hands. Mm-hmm. So my thought at the time was, if you can fly hands-free, you can do more useful things. So we came up with this system that's mounted on your lower body. So the engines are on the side of your legs that propels you. And we have proprietary technology that allows the system to balance you upright in air, much like how SpaceX lands their rockets with thrust vectoring. We do the same thing with controls and the thrust vectoring with a human. It's more complicated than that, but
essentially, that's the gist of it. You're not going to lose your balance and you can stay upright?
Yes, that's the goal. Yeah, we have a few steps that we can go towards it. We can first start with a simpler platform that just lifts you, like we call it the everywhere elevator, like a three-dimensional elevator that can shift in space. Or movie reference again, Aladdin's magic carpet. So instead of powered by magic, it's powered by the science and control engineering. So that is one form factor it could take, is like a magic carpet. Okay. Allowing people to fly in the future, like as free as you see in sci-fi movies, is where our vision is.
That's amazing. And so you have some like patented technology with tiny engines that people wear?
We do have a patent on the design of the thrust vectoring nozzle. We want to have more defensible. We want to keep building onto the unique advantages we have beyond that patent. So we don't really advertise that, we don't really rely on the patent that we have. We're aware of, building the portfolio of IPs around, so we can potentially do things like licensing. And
so you're a startup founder, you're an immigrant, you're from China, you're in the US, you're an international student, you're making it happen. Where are you and your co-founder in the startup founder journey, and where is your company on the startup journey?
So I founded the company I incorporated the company in 2019 about August by myself. So for about a year, I was alone. Then next year, two other co-founders joined, Tom and Andrea. They joined. That's when we started doing more things like building out the actual prototype. So I'd say that's where the company really started. Yeah. And in the beginning, we really did. So I was really lucky, fortunate to have my family support to be doing this. And for a year or two, we're just doing things in our lab, building things.
Doing things that don't necessarily scale, just trying to get the prototype working.
Yeah. And it works. We did a system integration. I was able to hover for a little bit.
You hovered, so you've worn it. It's like and you've gone off the ground.
Well, we use the term hover loosely. I was attached to the tether and I was very nervously holding on to the chain that's keeping me safe. Okay. And I was basically hanging on the safety system there. I was able to get off the ground. Yes.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And at the same time we were building this, we realized it's not enough to just build technology. If we're going to make this into a company that changes the world, we need to have a business case. And that's where we started studying how to build a company, basically. Yeah. And that, fast forward, skipping a lot of stuff, and that ended up leading us to Techstars, which is the program for those who...
It's like a premier hardware accelerator.
It's not hardware.
More verticals than that. Okay.
It's vertical agnostic. They are an accelerator based in the US. It has a good track record. So some people might know Techstars, and but we were able to get into that program, and we're in the middle of it right now. So my life is kind of
Thank you for making time for this recording. In the midst of that, what's the goal of the Techstars program, and what are you learning so far? How are you finding it?
Oh, so much learning. I feel like the learning summarizes what I do for the past few years. I've just been kept learning so much about everything from life to startups. One tangible thing we're trying to learn from the program is how to run a fundraising campaign. Before going to Techstars, we're just kind of doing things at random and shooting out emails, calling people, asking for intros. But it turns out there is a process to everything. Yeah. And one thing I learned is, basically everything about a startup is a funnel. Fundraising is a funnel. Customer acquisition is a funnel. Recruiting is a funnel. We are building the internal workflow that allow us to navigate like all facets of startup life. Right. That's another thing we've been learning as well, just how to properly build a company.
Right, because the skill set of mechanical engineering geniuses is different than fundraising, hiring, managing. But that's exciting. So what you're telling our listeners is not only do you have some sort of working prototype for a wearable suit that allows people to hover, but they could also potentially invest in the company?
So, I don't think we're allowed
or could they sign up? I mean, but you're interested in... Are you interested in introductions to investors?
Where this is the founder happy we've been building, right? We're always happy to talk to potential investors, potential customers.
Amazing.
And that's something we always do and make time for.
And if people want to fly themselves, one of those links you provided in the show notes would be to allow them to sign up to be on the wait list.
Do that. Amazing. And be very cool.
How do we know it's safe? I was asking you, I'm a mom. How do I know that if I put this thing on my body and go up into the air, I'm not going to freeze in the stratosphere and come crashing down?
Yeah. Yeah. We take safety very seriously. I will be the first one to test it. I will make sure I don't die. And I think I was telling you about this as well, because I want to fly too. And my co-founder, Andrea, wants to fly too. Yeah. And for us to do that, we have to not die first. And obviously making people fly safely is number one priority before we can do anything else. We envision a world where people fly around, do all sorts of things, like from playing baseball in the sky to building a city in the sky. Quidditch, another movie reference.
Wait, tell me. I mean, this is the stuff of dreams. Seriously. Okay, so then we have to take a step back. What is your big, hairy, audacious goal? What's your founder vision? Like, what sort of world do you imagine? What's the world we can live in when we have personal flying, and what impact and effect do you want to have on the future of humanity?
Yeah. The way I think about it is we have been constrained by gravity since the dawn of time, like since we evolved from monkeys. That's not accurate. We did not evolve from monkeys, but but if we can unlock that ability for us to basically be anywhere in the sky, any point in the sky, and do things we do on the ground, that unlocks a lot of imagination, I believe, for us to create in the sky. So
it's
that
like
is the whole vision.
Your own movie trailer could be like, in a world of darkness, constrained by gravity, one man believed he could defy. Wow. How fun. How exciting. Cities in the sky. Of course.
Why not?
Why not? Cities, rooted over oceans, right? Like, get your whatever you need out of the ocean, and the cities can float over the ocean or something.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Where does the name Obsidian come from for Project Obsidian?
We're looking for words that's cool, but we also want a category, so we ended up in a category of rocks. So obsidian, maybe like in the future, sapphire. It's a random pick in general, but
I like it. Well, obsidian is volcanic glass, and you don't get that without disrupting something with a volcano. So I think it's the appropriate metaphor.
Are you a person of extraordinary ability, and do you want to work legally in the US, but you don't know where to start? Well, I am super excited to share with you that we've built Extraordinary Ability Bootcamp, where you can learn everything you need to know about strengthening your immigration application to reach your United States goals. For being a loyal listener, I'm offering a 20% discount when you use the code ILTS when you sign up. You can find more information in the show notes. Thanks.
Tell us about your journeys with just anything you'd like to share about any advice for founders who might have some immigration thing that they're trying to navigate, like how to stay positive and focused on the future and believe in yourself, anything like that?
Consult with Alcorn Immigration Law. Just kidding. Quick plug, by the way. But that's what we did. The great thing about being here is, although it's hard, but there is always a path. So for reference for the audience, my path was, I came into the U.S. as a F1 student on the student visa in 2015 when I was in high school. So I came to high school because I told my mom I want to play professional basketball in the U.S. in the NBA, and she said, "Yes, why not? You go do high school in the U.S." So I ended up here, anyways. Didn't end up playing basketball.
She's so supportive.
She's very supportive. She's like the reason I'm here. So
shout out to Hal's mom.
Shout out to my mom. She doesn't know English, but thanks, Mom. So I was in high school, continued the F1 visa to university. And I believe for STEM graduates, you get 3 years in total of OPT, where you can work and live in the US. And correct me if I get this wrong. I think the first year you can somewhat self-employ yourself to do some work. So that's what I did. And another year, then the hardship comes where the company needs to hire you. You need to go through the whole E-Verify program. So that's when things became a little difficult and different for me than other founders that's U.S. citizen. So basically, I had to onboard another co-founder to basically hire me to be able to continue my journey in the U.S. Yeah. So it's an obstacle, but I'm glad that the mechanism can be done, So I ended up finding a person.
How did you and your co-founder align for that? Because when you go from being a solo founder to needing a co-founder and then needing to depend on them for immigration, it's a lot of trust.
Yeah, so that's the only criteria, right? I found a person I trust. He's a good friend of mine. He's used to be my TA in university.
Oh, good.
We work on the same project for the U.S. Special Operations Command in university.
Wow.
I still don't know how they gave me that project, being Chinese and all. But I worked on something for the special
They knew
ops.
you were the guy.
But yeah, so... in the second year of STEM OPT, going into the STEM extension, I was able to restructure the company, made it into two co-founder structure, and company basically hired me for the next 2 years. And throughout that 2 years, we tried different things, but we ended up taking the route of O1 visa, which was nerve-wracking, but ended up turning out pretty well since I'm here talking about it. That we have...
Congratulations.
Thank you. I have made it to the other end of the line. So yeah, that's a quick recap of my journey.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I can talk about all these like alphabet soup of immigration things, but I think it's really different to hear the voice of somebody who's gone through each step, because as an immigration lawyer, I can say, well, a STEM OPT, whatever, is kind of simple.
Yeah.
But even if it's legally simple, that's not the same as the important choices you have to make to change your life to be in legal compliance with what the law is, and then to wait on pins and needles for that decision. So it requires a lot of fortitude. And other government matters. You've also been working with the state of New Jersey, right? Congratulations with that.
Oh, yeah. We have this is actually July 18th, 2022 was such a big day for me and for our company. That was the day we started, the first day of our Techstars Anywhere program. So we were in San Diego, California, meeting the Techstars team, managing director Ryan Cooter, and the classmates in the same cohort to our other companies, meeting new faces, making new friends. And we were halfway through the introductions for just basically getting to know each other throughout on the first day. And I got this email saying, hey, you won this grant from New Jersey, which we applied for a month ago. Did not have too much expectations for it, but we ended up getting $75,000 from the state of New Jersey to
That's amazing.
Prototype a system that helps with air mobility in the offshore wind operation and maintenance space. And then 10 minutes after that New Jersey email, because I was already thrilled. I was telling the managing director, we're jumping around. I was running in the hallways. Everybody was looking at me weird, but they're happy for me, right? They're already happy for me. And we got this grant on the first day. Ryan was saying we should call investors today and set up meetings.
Oh, that's amazing.
But 10 minutes later, I got this other email from you guys saying, you got an O1 visa. So that was a magical day for us. I was incredible. Then 20 minutes later, I was doing my self-introduction and all of that in front of the whole class. And halfway through, I was talking about how I was born in China and mom supported me all the way. And I cried for the first time in front of my co-founder talking about this story. He's never seen me cry before, but I cried in front of the class. And that was a very emotional day for me as well. So it was a huge, I don't even know how to describe the feeling, right? It was overwhelming, but good. Yeah.
It's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that story with us, and congratulations. And it's oh my gosh, when it rains, it pours. And
exactly.
Sometimes you got to wonder if there's other forces at play here, spiritual or whatever, that how did this all happen?
Funny you mentioned that. There's a magical Airbnb that we stayed in the interview for Techstars and the grant from New Jersey, we did in the same Airbnb in San Mateo, California, because we were on a conference trip to, I think, TechCrunch Mobility or something. And then in the Airbnb, we did the 2 interviews back to back, and then we got in both. So like, that's a
I think, yeah, you'll have to send me this magical Airbnb so we can do all of our like founder retreats there and stuff.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh. So you're doing it. I mean, this is the American dream, seriously. And you left your family in China when you were a high schooler to move here. And I mean, I know they support you a lot, but you've been in this country charting your course and finding your way. It's amazing.
But again, I'm very lucky to have my family support, but I have always been away from my family. Like I moved away from my hometown to Shanghai for middle school. So, wow. And I also traveled to Japan after graduating middle school with a bunch of my friends and almost died on the beach there. Oh but that was crazy. I make big decisions with my gut. I guess that's what I do. Yeah. And I wanted to start a company that make people fly, and I'm doing it. So
that's amazing. And it's such a special energy. And I feel like the whole world is programmed to tell us that that's fanciful and silly. And like, you should get a job. It's something serious and an H-1B and something that pays you where you can like buy a house and you can wait for a company to sponsor you for a green card one day. And like, who would create flying suits? That's just in Disney movies or whatever. But like, somebody's got to dream it, right? And here you are doing it.
Being a dreamer is, I think, part of my core characteristic. I love this manga from Japan, which I believe is controversial opinion, the greatest fictional work of all time. It's called One Piece.
I don't know.
It's a Japanese manga. It's actually the best-selling manga in the comic graphic novel in the whole world. So it's been serializing since 1997. Okay. The story is basically about a kid sail out to the sea and wanting to become the king of pirates. So he's a pirate. So it's funny that I mentioned that connected. So he has a big dream and wants to make things happen along the way, recruiting crewmates and everything. Ryan Cooder, the managing director of Techstars, for us, he made an analogy during one of our sessions is being a CEO is a lot like being a captain of the ship, where you're in charge of setting the ship. 3 jobs of a CEO should do: setting the ship into the correct direction, meaning the company is on the correct course. And then you recruit the people that can help you steer the ship and maintain the ship and achieve the goals you want to achieve with this company / ship. And then the 3rd job of the CEO is you provide resources for your crewmates, for your company teammates to get to that end goal. That moment struck me when he said it. It's because it's very similar to the story of One Piece, which I grew up with. I started reading in middle school, which was about this kid, Luffy, setting out to the sea, wanting to become the king of pirates, but he started alone. And there's this memorable scene where he was fighting the big bad villain in one arc, and he started, I don't know what prompted him to say it, but he started speaking about how he cannot use a sword. Then the camera pans to the swordsman of the crew, and he cannot cook. And camera pans to the cook of the ship. And then he says, I don't know how to navigate the seas. I don't know how to steer a ship. Then the camera pans to the navigator of the ship. And then the last funny bit is, I don't even know how to lie, he says. Then the camera pans to the person on the ship that lies a lot. That's a funny bit, but the more of the story is he's being vulnerable and admitting that he cannot do everything he needed to become the king of pirates to navigate the oceans to defeat this villain by himself to get to this point. But what he can do is, at the moment in the fight, is that I can defeat you so that my crew can be safe and continue the journey. But the analogy of being a CEO is I can do whatever I can to provide the resources for the company. Right now, it's just myself, Andrea, and Tom to go forward and continue to do what we want to do. So there's this beautiful parallel analogy going on with what I do now and what I grew up reading.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
That's amazing. And
highly recommend One Piece by Ichiro Oda.
Okay, great. I'll expand my horizons. Thank you. I'm excited. And that's that founder thing too, of like, oh my gosh, I can't do that thing. And especially with highly successful people or high achieving people, it's like we feel like we have to do all the things ourselves. And it's so hard sometimes to learn, like, actually, this person's great at that. They would do a way better job than me. Let's just empower them to do that to the maximum. So, yeah, you're doing it. Oh my gosh. Well, your story is so inspiring. I can't wait to hear what else you do. We'll have to keep checking in about your progress here on the podcast. I've already signed up to be in the flight club because I totally want to try it. Thank you. And we have a very supportive community of people who really care passionately about supporting international founders and people who are really interested in the future of humanity and use startups as a tool to leverage economic incentives to help shape that future reality, grounded in ethics and that vision of the future. So I hope a lot of people check out the show notes and see your links for your newsletter sign up and also your landing page if there's any people who can help make any introductions that might be helpful to you and your team.
Yes.
We'd all love to support you. Maybe one of these days when you're ready, we can do an immigration law for tech startups travel log journey. We can narrate the flying experience, or we can do a video or something whenever you have something that's ready to show. We would love to see it.
Yeah. Glad to do it.
Cool. Wonderful. Any closing thoughts? Anything else that would support you? Because we want to help you.
Yeah, you mentioned it all. And for those who are listening, if you can get up and stretch, take care of your health. That's something I've been learning a lot. Taking care of yourself is important. Relax a bit and not try too hard, Don't break yourself and stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hao. It was wonderful having you on the podcast today.
Yeah. Thank you, Sophie.
To our listeners, do check out those show notes. Please share this with a friend. Any founders, people who work at tech startups, or anybody who might like to try a personal wearable flying suit one day. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We appreciate it when you rate, review, and subscribe. And you can sign up for the Alcorn Immigration Law newsletter in the show notes, where you can hear exciting stories like Hao's in our Founder Spotlight. Thank you so much, and looking forward to catching you next time.